Hey there. Welcome to the Breakthrough Creative. I'm your host, John McDavitt. And you know what we do here? You know it. We talk about the business of art and the art of business. This is where we interview creative entrepreneurs and business professionals to get a look behind the scenes at how they do what they do to make a living from their particular focus. The focus of my guest today is portraits. She's an incredible portrait artist. She is a traditional watercolorist, but the majority of the work that she does is in an app on the iPad called Procreate. It is an incredible tool. I love Procreate. I use it myself every day. Now, Debb creates just astonishing, gorgeous portraits in Procreate. And she is known to her fans by the handle The Monkey Brush, which is just a great name. And she explains, where the name came from a little bit later on in the episode. But I'm looking at Instagram right now, and Debb has almost 67,000 followers. So her work is, can we say renowned? I think you can if you get 67,000 followers. And it looks like she is fully booked in 2020. And she just has a great story. And she's a really cool lady. And we're going to get into the interview now. Hey there. I would like to welcome Debb to the show. Hi, Debb.
Hi, John. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you.
So I met Debb, I think it was in a Procreate group on Facebook,
Yes,
right?
that's correct. Yes.
Right? And her work stood out. She is an incredible portrait artist of people and of animals, but is so much more. She's got a great sense of design and style in how she puts these portraits together. And then I find out that she's not just a digital artist working in Procreate, but she's also an incredible watercolorist, watercolor is kind of my, it's my weak spot. I'm not good at
Oh,
watercolor. So when I find somebody who can wrestle with watercolor and manipulate it so well, I'm just incredibly impressed. So thanks
thank
for
you.
being here.
No, my pleasure. Thank you for having me.
So how did you get to here? How did you get to this point in your life? Can you tell me a little bit about your history?
Yes, so I've been drawing since I could hold a pencil and always loved it. But I grew up in Brazil where I was born, and I think most people think this is just a hobby and you can't make a living with art. So I studied biology and I was planning for to be a biologist and to keep doing my art as a hobby. And I did that for quite a while. And at some stage, I think it was in 2011, yes, it was, I had my first child, my first baby, and I struggled with fertility and having the baby. So when I finally had him in my arms, I wanted to spend as much time as possible with him. And I didn't want to work for anyone else. I just wanted to have flexible hours where I could, be with him and work when he was asleep. So I decided to just try my luck, and I started drawing at the time watercolor and pencils, and started taking commissions on Facebook. I would just say to people, you know what, I draw. If you want a portrait, just send me an inbox. And people actually started commissioning me, which was a shock. I wasn't expecting it because of that belief, like that engraved belief that it was just a hobby and I could make a living out of that. So it was shocking to me, and people started, just spreading the word, and I was very happy that I was getting more commissions. And I got very sick at one point. I have an autoimmune disease, so I had to stop that because I couldn't even hold the pencil very well. Like my hands were very stiff, and I stopped for a while, and then I got back to it in 2013. And then I fell pregnant again with my second, and I had to stop again because, again, I wanted to just be a mother. So in August last year, I started doing digital, and I joined the group that we both had. And just learning from the group, I would start asking questions and observe how people were doing things. And I converted my knowledge of traditional media and into digital, and I was having a lot of fun. And now I'm full-time working with just a portrait artist, which is amazing because, as I said, it's a shock to me because I never knew this was even possible for me, especially because I didn't have any formal education in arts. Like I never did a course or anything. I never studied arts. So it's shocking, and it's a huge blessing. I'm always, very grateful. I don't take it for granted.
Oh, that's wonderful. So let me take a step back. So what I didn't say when we started is, and I'm sure everybody who's picked up on now, is that you are in Australia.
Yes. So I came when I was 16, and so 16 years ago. I came with my mother and my brother. My mother works for the Brazilian consulate here, so I didn't have a choice. I came because I was really young. I didn't like it at first, but then obviously you fall in love once you're here because it's an amazing place. And I ended up getting married and staying. So I've been here for 16 years.
So when did you... Well, I guess what's the question really? You said that after your first child, you started to draw again. How much of a window of time, a gap was there between you putting down the pencil and picking it up again?
So I think once you grow up, as a child, I used to draw all the time. I would rather stay home drawing than going out or doing anything, pretty much. Even eating, I would rather draw than go have dinner, and that drove my mom crazy, poor thing. But then I stopped because you grow up and you don't have the time. You're studying and then you start working. I started working at a pet shop when I was 16, and the whole change when we came here was too much, and I stopped drawing for the longest time. So I came in 2002, and I had Joshua, my first baby, in 2011. So that's 9 years without drawing, without picking up a pencil.
Wow.
And yeah, so I was I'm not proud of my first commission. I'm not. So I had to learn again how to draw.
So what made you so bold to start taking commissions? Right, it sounds like you did that right away.
Yes, I think the driving force was my desire to be with Josh. That was it. Like that was that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be with him and obviously make money, and at the same time be there for play groups and taking him to the park and the museum and all of that. So I just savor the moments with my kids so much, especially I think because I had a hard time having them, and 4 miscarriages, and I just treasure my time with them. So I said, you know what, I have nothing to lose, and I started charging very, very little. Like I remember my first commission, all the money I got for it, I went to Hungry Jack's, I think Burger King in America, I think it's called. And I celebrated, and I spent all the money just celebrating that I had gotten my first commission. And I said to my husband, you can have whatever you want. And we spent all our money on burgers because I was so happy. But things just moved really fast. I started getting commissions. Like after 2 weeks of getting my first commission, I was fully booked for the month, which was incredible. So we were always going to Hungry Jack's here because we were always celebrating. And I started spending my money on new materials, getting better pencils, and then I started charging a little bit more and getting, more confident with time. And I think Australians really value art in general. Like, I think they're willing to pay for something hand drawn or something like that. So that's how it happened.
Was it hard to charge for the work? Was it?
It was like, I think, especially if you don't have the confidence, which was my case, I was like, and I think a lot of people deep down, they think, you shouldn't be charging for something that you love doing. And I had a hard time. That's why my first commission was a portrait of 4 people, and I only charged like $50, which is really ridiculous. But I charged thinking that maybe people will pay, and they did, and I started increasing the prices. But it is hard when you start. And knowing exactly how much and everything, it's hard.
How did you figure it out?
I didn't. I was just like, it was very random. I was like, you know what? For 4 people, how much would people pay? I think I'll just say 50. And they said, yes. And so next time I said, I'm going to try my luck. I'm going to push it a little bit, and I'll say 80. And people paid. And I increased like that until, and obviously according to the skills as well, as I got a little bit better, I would charge more. I now look at my first commission and I go, oh my goodness, I should have given it for free. I shouldn't have charged. But they were happy, and I think it's just,
artists are so hard on themselves. We're so hard on ourselves. Right? Yes. You should have had a scale for people that said that 4 portraits is 20 Burger Jacks.
That's right. Yeah, that is right. Oh my goodness, I never had so much junk food in my life.
So as you started to grow as a professional artist,
yeah,
and your skills were beginning to improve, what did you notice changed about you in regard to communicating with people? I mean, have you always been a strong communicator? Are you an introvert or an extrovert?
I'm an extrovert when I'm speaking Portuguese, not so much when I'm speaking English.
Okay.
I'm not that confident. So it was always a bit of a struggle for me. I was always, and I'm still always worried that I'm going to be misinterpreted. And I didn't want to come across as arrogant or, just pretentious, I guess. So I had the problem with just making sure people know I'm very grateful and very humble, and that sometimes comes across as weak almost, and so now I have an assistant, and she's amazing, and she's the one who sends the quotes. Because the other thing that I have a problem with is I get a lot of requests for people who want to combine 2 or more photos of people who are no longer here.
I have seen some of that work of yours that you've posted, and you do an excellent job with that, but that is incredibly challenging to do.
It is very hard. It is very hard, especially because most of the time it's photos that were taken a long time ago, so the quality is very low. You can hardly see the details that you have to combine with a current photo. It's very hard, and a lot of people get in touch because they want something like that, and it's always a very sad story, like someone who lost their parents in a tragic car accident or something like that. And to me, I always feel really bad charging for something so sentimental. And Gabby, who is my assistant now, she's really good because I can't communicate. I always struggle with putting a price on something that is just sentimental. So in terms of communication, I get help.
That's so smart. That is so smart to have that person between you and your client, because I struggle with some of that myself, not with corporate clients, but more with like kind of people who aren't corporate when I'm dealing with the general public. Because and I think for me it's because corporate higher they're not as worried. I mean, they're conscious of their budget, but $500 to a corporation is
not the same.
It's not the same, right? So that is so smart. I mean, I'm going to take a cue from you and do that for my private commissions. That is so smart.
Yeah, it's just that she is very kind, but she's assertive, which I'm not, and that's very good. It saves me a lot of stress, really, because I used to say yes to everything, and I would give discounts, but then it ended up being like, even before people asked for it, I'll go, oh my goodness, that's such a sad story. Yes, I'll do it next week, and I'll give you a discount. And it turns out I can't keep up, because I have the boys that I have to look after, and I have a life outside of that, and I couldn't commit to so much. So Gabby is the one who makes sure that I have like a realistic calendar, and that I'm not saying yes to everything and everyone. But it's hard.
So how did Gabby come into the picture? How did that happen that she became your assistant?
So I had another assistant, Stella, and she had a baby, and I was on the lookout for someone else. But the thing is, they had to speak Portuguese as well as they speak English, because more than half of my followers are from Brazil. So Gabby was someone that I've known for the longest time, and she is extremely efficient, but she was working for a real estate at the time. And I was just asking her, oh, can you please just come and work for me? And she said yes, and she's been amazing. And it was in good timing, because when Stella left, I was going crazy, because I was putting in 10 extra hours a week, which is impossible. I was sleeping at 4:30 a.m. and waking up at 7 and starting the day, so I was getting tired all the time. So it's been a blessing. Gabby is amazing.
That is such an important thing to have, is that assistant who can help with the administrative and the sales. It sounds like she helps with an incredible help, so that you can focus on the work.
Yeah, exactly. So at the time, I was wasting so much time doing admin that I didn't have time to draw. So I was, I couldn't get too many commissions, and I had to, work too much. Yeah. So now everything's much better, having her doing the admin. And of course, like with social media, you get a lot of messages that you have to reply, and you have to be personal. Like, can you imagine someone coming and telling you a story, like a really sad personal story, and you just go, oh yeah, here's the price? I didn't want that. I wanted to actually take the time to listen to them and hear the story and understand their expectations and everything. But I couldn't do it myself. So it's good, because right now I get an average of 40 to 50 messages on my inbox every single day. And for every single message, I want to focus on what they are asking, and it's impossible to do it if you have to run a household and have kids and work and do commissions and everything. So it's been good.
Yeah, and portraits are so personal, right?
Yes,
As
yes.
you say, it's usually somebody that, I mean, nobody gets a portrait of somebody they don't know, right? So,
Yeah,
so
exactly.
they're intimate gifts, and
Yeah.
so would you say that those 40 to 50 messages that come into your inbox, are they all for commissions, or like what?
Yes, all for commissions. And that doesn't mean I'm going to get 40, 50 commissions a day, obviously, but inquiries about commissions and people.
Mhm.
At the moment, I'm fully booked until May next year, and then there's a waiting list of 80 people waiting for emails to be sent once I open for commissions again. So it's a lot of people, and again, I'm very, very surprised. But lately it's been there's this momentum. I think with the portrait I did of the Irwins, I got a lot of new
Tell us that
followers.
story. That was an exciting one that you just had
Yeah.
recently.
Yes, so I'm a big fan of the Irwins, always been. As I mentioned, I studied biology. I I was a zookeeper for a while. Love animals. And Steve Irwin was a hero of mine. I was obviously very sad when he passed away. And I watched Bindi and Robert grow up. And Bindi recently got married on the 25th of March, the day before my birthday. And I was waiting for the photos to be released. Once they were released and I looked at the photos, she looked incredible. Everything was beautiful. But you have that feeling that something or someone was missing. And
Mm.
obviously we all wish Steve could have been there. He would have been so proud of his family. And I just thought a lot of people love the Irwins and they would like to see what I would like to see. So I did a portrait of the Irwins, like of her wedding day, but I included Steve Irwin and Sui the dog, his best friend. And it took me 25 hours over the course of 2 months because I had to do it in between commissions and live. And when I finished, I posted on my Instagram and Facebook, and the response was overwhelming. Like, and I'm not saying it's because of my art, but because of the subject, like because they so loved. People started sharing and tagging the zoo and Bindi and Robert, and it's sort of like it was shared over 8,000 times in a matter of 3 days on my Facebook. And Bindi ended up seeing it, and their executive assistant sent me an email saying that she has seen it and asking for my address to send some gifts. So she sent a card and gifts. I was over the moon. And then I thought, you know what, I'll just ask them if I can personally give them the painting. And they said yes. I had 2 days to pack everything up and put the kids in the car, drive for 16 hours to get to them for Bindi's birthday. And that was on Friday. It's Tuesday here in Australia. So last Friday we went to the zoo and we met all the Irwins, and they were fantastic, so friendly, so kind. And it was the best 15 minutes ever. My son Josh, who is a big fan too, he was over the moon. So he went to school today and he took a photo of him with the Irwins to show all his friends, and it's been amazing. It really has. I'm very grateful.
Well, and you said, and I believe every word that you said, in humility, about how the people love the Irwins and that it wasn't
Yes.
your artwork, but I'm looking at the picture right now. I just pulled it up on Instagram. And if you want to find Debb on Instagram, you can go to the monkey brush. It's the _ monkey _ brush to look
Yeah.
at her beautiful work. And I mean, the portrait is gorgeous. Now, is this
Thank you.
watercolor or digital?
No, it's digital. So I did
You
it
did this in
with
Procreate.
Procreate, yes,
Yeah, it's
and I
lovely.
printed it on canvas and framed it. So, yeah, but it's digital.
Yeah, that's just, it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So wow, what an exciting thing to be able to do and to go deliver to them.
Yeah.
I got to pull you back up. I lost you for a second. There we go. So I mean, that was that. You know, the one of the blessings of being a creative is that you find yourself in situations that are unusual. Like our gift
Definitely.
can bring us into proximity with unusual and fun situations. So
Yes.
what a cool thing for you to
It
experience.
is. It's very cool. Like just this morning, I had an interview at the biggest radio show here in Australia. It's called Kyle and Jackie O Show, and I did a portrait of Kyle, the host, and I was on the radio this morning. And every time something like that happens, I feel so emotional because it going from, you know, like looking back from when I really believed I would never be able to work with my, you know, with art. And now
And that was because,
having,
and you're talking about before even your
yeah.
immunocompromised issues. You're
Oh
talking
no,
about being
I
from your
mean when
youth.
I was a child, when I was a
Yeah,
kid, and people would say, "Oh yeah, you can keep drawing, but you have to study something and have a proper job, and you can have art as your hobby."
yeah.
And now to be able to live this life and have my, you know, art paying the bills, it's really, I'm really really grateful.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
amazing. So how do you manage your schedule? Like how, I mean, the work that you do is not just something that you roll out of bed and you do in 10 minutes. I mean, there's a lot of time that goes into your work. And I was watching you paint fur on a cat. I was watching the brushes you were using.
Yes.
Because and we'll talk about Procreate in a minute. But
Yeah.
so how did you figure out your schedule so that you could meet your schedule?
I haven't. I'm still learning. I haven't. I really haven't. I wish I had a better answer, but I am tired all the time because I don't know if you probably, I think you might be able to relate because I think it's something that I see most artists struggle with, which is I don't, I'm not very good at working during daytime. I know I just get a lot of distractions. Like, so if I sit here and I start working, I'll start thinking, oh, in 1 hour I'll have to pick up Josh, and then I have to go grocery shopping, and I should go to the bank, and I can't get in the zone. Like, it's funny, but I work well once my kids are in bed and asleep. So they go to bed at 7 p.m. and I take a shower. I have something to eat. I usually have like a treat or something. And then I start working at 8:30 p.m. and I go until 4:30 a.m., which is not sustainable, and I'm aware. And so I don't have an answer to that because I am still trying to figure out a way of working and still keeping, you know, a reasonable schedule. I haven't yet because that's not
Yeah.
sustainable working until 4:30.
It's hard. I know for me, I've had seasons where it's just been weeks of heavy deadlines, and
Yeah.
and now you were a zookeeper. I'm
Yeah.
married to somebody who was a zookeeper, and when we began dating, the only time we could get together was at 5:30 in the morning to have a coffee. So
Wow.
I would drive an hour and we would sit and we'd have a coffee at a Starbucks and then
Oh,
she'd go
that's
to work.
beautiful.
So I flipped my schedule, and it's never
Yeah.
changed. So I'm up at
Oh,
about
really?
5:30 a.m. and then I go work out, and then I come home, and I'll have a coffee, and then I work a bit. But if I have a lot of client work, I'll work through the
Yeah.
night. I mean, if I have to do it, I tell Janine and my son, I'm like, hey, I'm here, but I'm kind of not here. I've just got to
Yeah.
go. And
Yes.
but there's seasons, and
Yeah.
I think you're a lot younger than me right now, and youth
I
youth
don't
has
know.
youth has a lot of benefits.
No, trust me, I'm 35 now,
Yeah,
and I feel the difference. Like I could
yeah,
work all night long when I was 22 and not feel tired the next day.
yeah,
But now I'm really starting to feel it.
yeah. I think when I was your age, I realized that I pulled an all-nighter for a client,
Yeah.
and the next day I was like, I feel like I'm hungover. It was
Yeah.
like for 2 days, I thought I didn't drink anything. Why do I feel hungover? Oh,
Yes, exactly.
older. Oh, okay.
So that's why I'm working on changing my schedule and having more, I don't know, more discipline in terms of working during the day and sleeping at night.
Mm-hmm.
Not doing well. I'm not. I'm doing terrible. It was my New Year's resolution, and I'm failing horribly. Maybe next year,
Well,
maybe we
what
can
you
cancel.
do, do you feel like you're like, I don't see your work suffering at all. Like your work is just,
Oh,
it's very you. I mean, and so
no,
so
thank you.
brilliant.
Thank you. But you know what? That is why Instagram, social media is very deceiving,
Yeah.
because we post what worked, but we don't usually post our failures, and that's what you don't see
Hmm.
sometimes. But the good thing about digital is you can undo things and you can start again and you can
Hmm.
change things around. But with pencils and watercolor, I have been making lots of silly mistakes that have put me off traditional media for a while, because just 3 weeks ago I had a commission, and it was a watercolor portrait of two people, and right at the very end I messed it up and I had to start again. So it was I think 6 hours of work that just went down the drain, and I think it's because of that. I'm tired, and
Yeah.
after a while, your brain starts to slow down. And so yeah, digital is very forgiving, and that's why I'm concentrating on that.
It is. The undo button is so
Yeah.
nice, isn't it? So tell
So
me
I
about
think,
that transition. Tell me about that from digital to Procreate. You said is the only digital program you work in. Did I
that's
cut
the
you
only
off? Were
one.
you going to say something else?
No.
Okay.
It's really fine. So with the transition from traditional media to digital, it was surprisingly easy. As you mentioned, I only use Procreate, which is very, very user friendly. I am a bit technologically challenged, so I never got the hang of Photoshop or anything else. And with Procreate, it's just really easy. And I started with the airbrushes, and I would do the whole portrait with airbrushes. And then I started getting more adventurous and using different brushes. And I use very unconventional brushes, to be honest. Like I use a lot of, for example, there's one brush called turpentine, and I don't see a lot of people using that, but I use it for hair, for dog fur, for skin texture, a lot of it. And I started getting more adventurous and using different brushes, and I'm now making my own brushes, but I have to perfect it because they're not great yet. But yeah, it's very
what would you say the main brushes are that you use? You use turpentine, you still use airbrush?
yes, all the time. So I
Yeah.
always color block with airbrushes. I use turpentine a lot. I use the touch-up brushes, all the hair touch-up, fine hair, flowing hair. Love them so much.
Oh, look at that.
Stucco, yeah. So I use different brushes for things that they were not meant for.
Which is what you're supposed to do, I think. You know, you find your
Yeah.
way, right?
Yeah, for example, I
Uh,
use the spray paintbrush to do freckles and pores, things like that. So it's fun. Procreate is the best app ever.
oh,
And
I
they do
love
have like
it.
a lot of, yeah, I think once you use it, why would you go back to anything else? It's really easy, and they have really good tutorials on their page, and that's all I've done. Like, I have never watched any tutorial except for the ones that they post, and it's very, very helpful.
And you put tutorials up now, don't you?
I used to do tutorials every Friday
Yeah.
live, but I
As if you
stopped with
didn't have enough to do.
I know, but I had to stop with that because I had surgery. I had major surgery 6 weeks ago, and I had to recover. And now I'm thinking of another way, maybe not live, maybe not Friday, because Friday is the day that, you just want to start slowing down. You want to spend time with your family, and they would be having dinner, and I was up here doing the live tutorial. So I'll have to think of something, but I really loved doing the lives because you can connect with your community, which
Yeah.
to me is really important. So it
Yeah.
was really fun.
Yeah. Have you thought about Patreon? Uh,
I have, and I would love to do that. I would love to start a YouTube channel, but the problem is everything takes time. And at the
yeah.
moment,
Yeah.
I am trying to look after my mental health as well because
Yeah.
I do tend to feel quite overwhelmed, and I don't like disappointing people. So I'm always like, if I say I'm going to do something, I'm always really tense and
Yeah.
thinking, oh my goodness, I have to do it now. And so I haven't started because of that, but I do plan on doing it one day when things settle a little bit. Maybe when Noah's a little bit bigger.
Yeah.
He's
Yeah.
yeah.
I'm wondering if there's a way for you to scale, so that if you say you were doing Patreon and you're doing your videos there and people are paying whatever a month, $20 a month, and then you get 1,000 followers, and that's a chunk of change
Yeah.
for people to follow you. And then, maybe you are able to reduce some of your commissions, but your prices
True.
go up, but I mean, that's just a thought. You need to
It's
do
good.
your thing.
I appreciate it because it's something that I think I need the encouragement because it's something that I want to do, but I'm a little bit scared because I'm just scared of not being able to juggle everything. But
It's
it's good.
hard, isn't it? It really, it's
Yeah.
challenging. And here you are, you're being a mom, and you've got
Yes.
other life things going on, and you've
Yes.
got a husband, and there's a lot that goes into running your own business. A
Yeah,
whole
there
lot.
is. I don't think people realize it. I didn't realize it until very recently because right now, if you work with social media, you have to keep posting and you have to keep posting a content that people will engage with.
Hmm.
And that is the problem. Sometimes I've been working on lots of commissions, but not a lot of people would like a portrait of someone that they don't know. So for me, if I want people engaging with my posts and things like that, I have to post people that they know. So I have to draw celebrities or well-known people. So on top of the commissions, I have to produce content for Instagram and Facebook, and that takes an awful lot of time. And I didn't know that. I didn't think of that before. So there's that too to juggle. And
How
yeah,
often do you post?
every single day at 7 p.m., between 7 and 9 p.m. So last week I skipped 2 or 3 days, but that's because I was away.
Yeah.
But usually it's pretty much every single day. Yeah.
So how many pieces do you get done a day?
It depends on the number of, like, for example, if it's a huge piece of, five faces or I'll do just one a day. But I usually work for 8 to 10 hours, and I usually take about 3 hours per face. That's if it's not very detailed, like if they don't have a lot of jewelry or curly hair, those things take longer. So it's really hard to tell how long one piece will take. But I draw every single day for long hours.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm looking at your work as you're telling me this. That's so good. Would you say, what made you so bold
Yeah,
to
my mum.
pursue all this? Yeah, go ahead.
My mum.
Yeah.
My mom was always, she is an incredible encourager. That's with everything. And she convinced me that I could do it. And I think the confidence boost came when I started taking on commissions very early on in 2011, when I saw that people were willing to pay. It was very gradual, to be honest, and I'm still always hesitant to increase my prices. And Gabby, my assistant, she's the one who I said she's very assertive, and she's really good with the business part of business, because I hate it. I wish I could just draw and do nothing else related to business, just draw and talk to people, connect with the community. And she's the one who needs to calculate the prices and everything. So I think that's, but I it's all fake. I'm not bold at all.
I don't believe that. I think that there's probably a part of you that's very, honest, that you're like, this is uncomfortable, but I just don't know how you couldn't be bold. Like, you've got confidence anyway. Let's put it that way, right?
Yeah.
You have confidence and you're competent, and that's huge, right?
I think I know now that people like my work, like some people like my work, so that's my confidence. But at the same time, like every time I will send the first draft to someone who has commissioned me, I keep looking at the phone saying, please reply, please. I mean, I need to know what you think of it, because there's always that fear that they won't like it, that it's not what they were expecting. Especially with with portraits of people, it's really hard, because, as you mentioned, it's not something just anyone. It's someone who is special to them. That's why they pay me. And I don't want to disappoint. And it's hard sometimes because I don't know that person, and the photo is just the still frame, and you don't get to see the personality. You don't get to see the details. Do they have a birthmark that is not showing on the photo? And to that person, they look at the photo, but they don't realize what's missing. And when you do the portrait, maybe they look at it and say, it's not exactly how he or she is. And it hasn't happened yet, but I know that the day will come, and I'm always scared that it's going to happen.
So you haven't had anybody be disappointed in the rough draft that you sent to them?
They haven't told me to my face yet.
Well, I suspect then
not.
that they're pretty happy if they're not telling you they're not, because people are pretty bold, I think, that to say it doesn't look like such and such.
Well, I do have a lot of people who say, his hair on that day was a bit messy, but he used to put it to the left, and things like that after you send the first draft, and you have to think, oh my goodness, but I don't have a reference for that. So you have to create something that you can't see, and that is a challenge sometimes.
Do you do that? Will you make the adjustment?
Whenever possible, yes. I try my very best. And for example, when I'm combining 2 or 3 or more photos, you can't just put them as they are, and they will look very unnatural. So you have to change the body position. You have to make up a hand so they seem like they are embracing, for example. But it's all things that you can't see. You don't have a reference for it. So you have to create something from nothing.
How do you do
And that's
that?
always so I use a lot of Pinterest. So for example, I have to reference for a male hand, for example. I go to Pinterest and see if I see a hand that looks like it's going to fit in with a portrait, and I use that. But it's hard, it's a challenge, and I'm not always 100% happy with it, so it takes me longer to work on it until I am. And yeah, but it's always scary because someone might look at it and say, oh, I have had that before. One time I had to create one of those portraits, and I had to create a hand from nothing. And once I sent it to the person who had commissioned me, they said, oh, the hands look very feminine. He was a mechanic. He had always had very dirty hands. His hands were very chubby, but you haven't seen it. So you have to just, work with something that you're just imagining. So it's always very challenging. But yeah, she was happy. I just made him just fatter and dirtier, and she was very happy with it. But yeah, it's always hard.
So what would you say was maybe it could be one thing or a multitude of things. I guess I'm just going to ask, what made you improve over time? Because I know you said you didn't train under anybody.
Yeah.
And you've got a sharp eye for reality as it is. I think that is a challenge for a lot of artists who maybe they just want to believe that their work is as good as it's going to be, and they don't have to do anymore, and their mom has told them that they're great all their life, and they are great because that's their kid, but it's not like the work doesn't cut the mustard yet, so it I know that it can be challenging and bruising to the ego to look at your work and go, oh, I'm not there yet. So how did you overcome that, and how did you grow?
I'm still constantly doing it. I look at my work from 5 months ago, even 3 months ago, and I do see a big difference. And I go back to it and I see, with the knowledge I have now, I would have done such and such differently. And I think the secret, which is not really a secret, and I think a lot of people expect it to be there to be a magic pill, like or a secret to get really good at something. And truth is, there isn't. You just have to practice and practice and practice and draw I draw every single day, and to me it's like going to the gym. Sometimes I don't want to draw. Sometimes I do it because I have a deadline that I need to meet, and sometimes I do it because I know that if I stop for one day, the next day I might not feel like doing it again, and then that's downhill from that. So I really think people need to practice every single day, like for a minimum amount of time. Like for me, it's 3 hours. So every day I do a minimum of 3 hours. But for someone who's starting off, maybe they will do 15 minutes, but do it as a discipline, as going to the gym. And I think it's actually exactly like going to the gym in some sense. When I go to the gym, which I haven't in a long time, but I used to think, oh, I hate it, I don't want to go. But once I was there, I actually enjoyed being there. And to me, drawing is the same. Like I sometimes start going, oh, I hate this, I just want to sleep, I wish I could just watch Netflix. But once I get there, like once I get in the zone and I start drawing, and you start seeing things taking shape, I actually start enjoying it, and then I go for longer than 3 hours because I don't want to stop. There are other things that helped me. For example, on social media, there's something called Draw This in Your Style challenges, and it's just your redemption of someone else's work. I think that is so good because sometimes you don't know what to draw, and you don't have an idea in your head, but someone else did, and they are inviting you to draw your version of their drawing. And that's really helpful for people who are going through art blocks, or just uh, they need an encouragement or something. But in the beginning, when I started digital, I used to trace a lot to even get that muscle memory. Muscle memory, is that right? Is
I
that how you
think
say it?
so. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
So
eye to hand. It's eye to hand
yeah,
skill,
exactly.
right?
Yes. So
Yeah.
your brain understands how to get the proportions right, and obviously that wasn't for commissions. But it's good. You have to think of ways that you can start practicing and not rely on it. I'm not saying start tracing and that's good enough. It isn't. It's not a good habit if you have to rely on it. But you have to find what works for you. Drawing upside down really helps, because one thing that I see a lot of artists who are starting out doing is they draw what they think they see and not what they actually see. So they will draw, for example, an eye, and they will use white for the sclera of the eye, and it's not what it's there. Like, it's just that they think that the white part of the eye is white, that the teeth are white. So they will say, yeah, so I'm going to draw teeth, and they will use white, like stark white. If you draw what you see and not what you think you see, you will start using many other colors. Like for teeth, I use yellow and purple and blue and gray. And yeah, so just that building, observing. I would open a magazine and really spend some time looking at that photo of whoever. Just spending time studying what you want to draw.
That's great advice. Yeah, you're talking about building a discipline of seeing, and then
Yes.
converting what you see into a flat image, whether it be on a screen or it be in
On
real life.
paper. Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's
That's
great
right.
advice. So Deb, tell me what are your plans for the future? What's next for you?
Yeah, so I would like to start a YouTube channel and do tutorials, um, and Patreon, things like that. I would love to get involved with that. And yes, just keep doing social media. The website, I'm working on my website, which is going to be launched in a month or so, which is really
Awesome.
exciting.
And when you get that YouTube channel, I'll be the first person there to subscribe, because
Oh,
I'll be
thank
looking
you.
forward to watching your stuff. I love watching other artists work. I
Me
love
too.
learning from them. It's so much
Same.
fun.
And I
And
think that's the difference between artists that get stuck and they don't grow, and the artists that are always growing, is that they have these, um, they just want to learn all the time. They want to observe what other artists are doing, and not necessarily copying it, but being inspired and, yeah, just learning. So I think it's
yeah,
good.
it's really important to be open to that. And you don't have to learn every style, but
No.
take a look at some artists that impact you. I mean, I Salvador Dali is one of my favorite artists. Salvador
Yeah.
Dali. I love looking at Monet. I
Yeah.
love Drew Struzan, a
Yes.
contemporary artist, right? And I mean, there's just so much. And Gustav Klimt. I mean, oh, just the work that's out there. There's so much of a smorgasbord for the eyes to see, and you can always learn from someone. So,
Yeah. True.
as we wrap up, I always ask my guests what advice, parting advice, they might have for the audience.
Yeah, I think just starting wherever you are, if you want to be an artist and you feel like you don't know where to start, just start. Like, if you don't have a tablet that you can draw digitally, start with pencils. Like, I started with pencils that I got from Kmart. They weren't even professional pencils, but you had to start somewhere. So my advice would be, start doing what you can now, and again, practice every single day. Be open to criticism. Ask for advice. Those Facebook groups are really helpful, the ones that we met on Facebook. They're really helpful. You can ask questions, you can see someone else's work and be really inspired, and then work on developing your style, but do it in an organic way. Like, I think people get really hung up on, oh, I haven't found my style yet. I think you do what you love, and then one day you look at your feed and you see some consistency. Like, you look back and you start seeing that there's one thing that you do more than anything else, and then that's probably your style. That's something you love doing and you're good at and you're constantly doing. For me, I really love the soft look of watercolor washes, the pastel colors, and all of that. And a lot of people ask me how I developed my style, and it was just that, just doing it every single day. And one day I looked at my feet and thought, oh my goodness, I do a lot of that. I do a lot of watercolor the splashes on the background and all of that, the textured look and all of that. So just start where you are, always be willing to learn, accept criticism, and connect with other artists where you can ask questions, and draw every single day of your life.
Awesome. Great advice. Thank you so much. Where
Thank
can
you.
people find you?
Yeah, so I'm on Facebook and Instagram. On Facebook, I'm just the Monkey Brush, and on Instagram, I am the _monkey_brush.
So Deb, where did the name the monkey brush come from?
Yes, so it's a funny story, because I used to be an early childhood educator when I was before I got married, and there was this little boy called Ethan, and he was the sweetest boy, and we would spend a lot of time outside looking at flowers and bugs, and we used to name all the flowers. In Australia, there's a native flower called bottle brush. It's an acacia flower, and I love it. And I was telling Ethan how I used to feed the possums with bottle brushes. At the time, I used to call him Monkey every time he was a little bit cheeky, and I would say, just say, hey, Monkey, come here. And one day we went outside, and he wanted to show me everything he had learned. And he said, oh, yeah, and that flower there is a monkey brush. And we laughed and laughed. And from then on, I always called bottle brushes monkey brush because he was so cute. And when I had to choose a name, I just kept thinking that, I wanted to use that name. So it doesn't make any sense, but to me, it's a very, it's a fond memory. And I don't know where he is. He's probably a teenager now, but one day, hopefully he remembers that story.
Hey, Deb, thanks so much for being my guest. It was so nice to meet you and to get to know you and your story and to hear about your family and your travels and your art and just the exciting adventure you had down to visit Bindi Irwin and her family and be able to hand over that incredible piece of art that you created for them. Some other takeaways that I had from Deb are that she just really worked hard to observe and learn from other artists. She took up the challenges that she would see on social media so that she could hone her skills, and that she has the discipline to draw every day. She works every day and works hard at it. And it's like lifting weights. The more regular you are about lifting weights, the more fit you're going to become in your muscles. Your muscles are going to grow. You're going to be able to lift heavier things. Well, it's the same thing with drawing, and I would say it's the same thing probably with any art we practice, whether it be playing a trumpet or dancing or writing, whatever it is. The more we do it, the better off we will be. And I also love how Deb utilized professional help, that she got an assistant who would help her to plan and manage her calendar and her communication. So if you don't have a Gabby, go try and get yourself a Gabby, because they're really, really important. So with that being said, that's our episode for today. Thank you for visiting The Breakthrough Creative. If you have any questions or comments for me, you can email me at john@thebreakthroughcreative.com. Next week's guest is Steve Rogers. No, not that one, not Captain America, although he's cool enough and a good enough guy to maybe take on that mantle of Captain America. But if his name sounds familiar, the Rogers part of it, it may be because I interviewed his wife, Amy Rogers, in episode 20. Amy is the director of C Conference, Self-Employment in the Arts. And Steve, her husband, has a brand called Bass Life Fishing. And he does a lot of things through that brand, but primarily what I want to speak to him about next week is how to build a social media presence and brand and get the followers and what goes into it all. Steve has done that over the past year, and it's a pretty cool story and a pretty cool behind the scenes look at how someone builds up a YouTube platform, gets it monetized, and continues to grow it. So be sure not to miss that if you are trying to build a following anywhere, because he's got a lot of really good insight into how he went about doing it and about affiliate marketing and the money that you can make from that. So there's just a whole lot that he is going to go into. Now, go home or get off this show or whatever you're doing and get to work creating something that is going to help you realize your dreams of making a living creating the art that you were made to create. All right, have a good one.